So the next guest comes from Sweden and represents a Fryshuset. I hope I spell it right. Stockholm skate park, and also is the chairman of board for the Swedish Skateboarding Federation. So we would like to invite here Magnus Gyllenberg.
Okay, thank you. Nice to be here in Riga. Thanks for having me. My name is Magnus Gyllenberg, and I've been skateboarding for about 30 years. I started in '87, something like that. So I'm a dinosaur in the skate world, still hanging on. Been working with skateboarding all my life. 12 years ago, I started working at this place, Fryshuset, which is like a big youth center in the center of Stockholm that focuses on a lot of different things. And Fryshuset has been going on since 1984. It started with basketball and rehearsal studios, but soon it became very socially conscious and started to do other things. And a couple of years ago, we sat down and said, we are doing all these things, but we don't really have the words for it. So we need to put down our foundation of values and our vision. And it is to make it possible for young people to change the world through their passions. That's why we work with things like basketball, martial arts, skateboarding and stuff like that. And the foundation of values is to provide encouragement, trust and responsibility. That builds knowledge, self-esteem that highlight the individual's inherent power. We listen to what is happening in society and act directly. We're not afraid of what's new and unknown. We see opportunities and mobilize forces where others see problems. We continually testing, correcting, and improving our methods, and we assume the needs of the individual. The door should always be open at Fryshuset to anyone who wants to engage and develop, regardless of background. And we believe in respectful meetings where the desire to participate and share interest bridges all contradictions, differences, and increases understanding. And that's where skateboarding, BMX and inline that we have at our skate park fits so very well. And skateboarding came into Fryshuset in 1989, where there were a lot of social unrest in the middle of Stockholm. The last 10 days of the kids' school summer vacation was really rowdy in the city. A lot of fighting, and it was chaos. So Fryshuset decided to look what the kids liked at that time and provide them. So they built this huge skateboard BMX ramp that was really popular. And when they saw that there was such a big crowd of kids coming to the skate park, it was just a big vert ramp back then, but they decided to build a big tent and put it inside so we could be there all year round. And I was about 14, 15 at the time, so I skated a lot at Fryshuset back in the day. But back then, we didn't have any grown-up role models, because all the guys that skated in the 70s had quit. So in the early 90s, when skateboarding went down and went really underground again, it was kind of like the inline scene that we just heard about, really tight little group. But the oldest guys were like 18, 19, and if you're 18, 19, hanging out in the city, partying all the time, you're not the best role model. I think now, when I'm grown up. Back then, it was the best of times, but anyway. In the middle of the 90s, skateboarding started growing a bit again, so there was ground to expand the skate park, and we built a big street course and a good indoor skate park, not just a tent that was really cold and dirty. And then it kind of leveled out and it was a good skate park, but it was like any other skate park, you know. The kids come there, no one's really looking after them in any way. Someone's sitting there taking the entry fee. But in the beginning of the 2000s, Anders Karlberg, who was the head of Fryshuset back then, thought, what if we make some kind of role model leader program for Fryshuset in the skate park? And we take the good sponsored kids and we give them a little salary to be on certain hours of the day hanging out and teaching them to be the role models and start to develop a culture like that within skateboarding, because skateboarding had been so punk, rogue all the time, which in many ways is a positive thing, but there were dark elements to it too, of course. And also, Fryshuset started a school for, I think is it like high school from 16 to 19, something like that. And they you could have a passion. You could have like four lessons a week with a passion you had. And they started dancing, and they had basketball, of course, because it's a huge thing at Fryshuset. But then they decided to try, why not put skateboard on the school schedule as well? Then we can get the kids that are really tired and falling out of school, but they're really into the whole skateboard scene. We get them here, and they hang out here during the day, and then in the evening as well, because they're having lessons at the local skate park where they hang out every day, their other home. So it was very, very successful, very popular, and it still is. We now also have junior high with skate passion, with those a couple of hours a week. And they always put the skate lessons in the morning, so they know that the guys, they really want to skate, so then they show up in the morning. We started expanding in the middle of the 2000s, and all the coaching had been centered for the indoor park, but then the city started talking to us. They had built a couple of nice outdoor concrete skate parks, but it was kind of rowdy around it, and they needed some adults there that could relate to the kids. They had tried with like regular youth leaders, but they didn't really match. So we provide them now with our skate coaches in the summer, because it's really slow in the skate park, in the indoor park. In the summer, it's mostly the winter, it's super crazy. And that has been working out really well too. We are now, and has been for many years, about 3,000 active members. And that is one of the biggest sports clubs in Sweden. And we had made a deal with the Swedish Basketball Federation to be under them. I don't really know how that worked out, but we've been flying under the radar, and we're able to get funding from the Sports Confederation in Sweden, but you had to belong to a sports federation, and we were in basketball for a reason. But we sat down and thought, this is weird. We're like one of the biggest clubs in this federation, and we don't even do the same sport. We need our own federation. And skateboarding is growing, and it's becoming so professional and standardized now. So we need to protect the culture before someone else do like they did with snowboarding, where the ski federation went in and took snowboarding, and all the hardcore snowboarders are still super pissed that they put their whole organization on it and kind of killed the culture. At least within the organized clubs, there's still snowboarders out there doing their thing, but you know. And we wanted, like, okay, we got a really good culture with all the skateboard clubs. Our club at Fryshuset is the biggest in Sweden. Let's bring some of the other guys in and create a federation, and then all the other will join. And it was really good timing, because the Swedish Sports Confederation were having a hard time. They're in a kind of a crisis, because all the traditional sports are losing the kids, and they can't relate to the traditional sports any longer. So we've been around just 2 years. We got into the Swedish Sports Confederation, which usually takes a long time to get into, because it's really big and slow moving. I also put in there about the female skaters that we've been working on, because we were concerned that it was like 95% guys and 5% girls, so we wanted to change that. So we've been working a lot, having special times for the girls, so they can come in and learn how to skate before they enter the skate park on regular hours, stuff like that, working with a lot of female role models, good skaters. putting out contests and stuff. And now, since a couple of years back, we are up to 25% female members in our club, which feels really good. In fact, this is pretty obvious stuff, but I put it out there because when we're working with the city, when we're working with government people, they don't realize how much of an impact you can do with a street sports activity. And this is the example we do with our skateboarding, with our skate park, and outdoors with our skate coaches in the summer. And the major thing is that it's spontaneous sports, as it's called in Sweden, has such a strength that you can do it whenever you want, with whomever you want. And it's not so rigid, like if you want to start playing football or handball or something, you have to register to a club, you have to get on a team, they have the very few times a week they practice and stuff like that. Your parents have to drive you there, perhaps, I don't know. But the thing with spontaneous sports is you provide a positive pastime that's not too expensive or not too complicated, because all you need is your skateboard or your inline skates or your basketball. And in areas with social problems, it's a huge step to become the member of the hockey team, because you have to buy all the expensive equipment. Your parents have to drive the team to the matches. Maybe your parents don't even have a car. You know. So when we come out with those spontaneous sports, we work with basketball in those areas as well, 3-on-3 and everything. And it's so good to be able to quickly. They don't feel the barrier of the parents have to engage all the time, like in traditional sports, because their parents are working 2 jobs. Or here they come and go as they want, and they get a new social network, because skateboarding is it's been a middle-class sport pretty much. It's been a white middle-class sport, but it's changing. We can really see that in our member bases, that kids out in the ghettos, in the tough areas, are coming in to our skate park. At first, the city has built a lot of good skate parks in the tough areas, and the kids learn to skate there. And then in the winter, they come into us. We're in Södermalm, which is a kind of fancy area of Stockholm, really expensive nowadays. And the local kids come there, like the middle-class kids, and then all the kids from out all over the Stockholm region is coming in. And it's a mix, and they get to know each other. They get a new social network. And it's really good to do that, like go out. We also do in the summer some pop-up skate parks and pop-up basketball things, and then the kids get really hooked on the sport. Then they come into our skate park, our activities in the city, and we mix them up with all the others. It's not like, also in traditional sports, it's usually you're on the team from your little area you come from, or you're in your age group, and we don't have that as well, the whole age thing. And now that's cool to see also that like a lot of the skaters from the 70s that are 50 plus now are coming back, starting skating again. Some of them have like teenage kids that skate, and then they're like, yeah, I used to skate, I'm coming with you to the skate park. This creates a really good atmosphere, that we have a lot of grown-ups at the skate park at the same time as the kids, because then it levels out. If it's just a bunch of 17-year-old guys, it gets very Lord of the Flies, rough jargon. So, and within our activities, we give the kids possibilities to grow. With many of them want to become a coach. We call them coaches, our leaders, but that's in English it sounds like a guy with a whistle and a tracksuit screaming, but in Swedish a coach means more like a life coach, like someone who leads you in the right direction. And they can get the education and can start at our school that is mixing up a lot of people and grow within the culture. Another thing that we've realized is in Fryshuset, we work, there are some projects that work with like heavy criminal people, and people with ADHD are very overrepresented in that area. they tend to have a big risk to become criminal or outcast. And we also noticed that among our members, there are very many kids with ADHD, and their parents are so happy that they have found skateboarding, because traditional team sports is really hard for them, with strict times and the whole group dynamic in skateboarding or BMX or inline. You can find your way in the skate park in the group. If you're really outspoken loud, you can do that because it's a noisy environment, so no one really get that pissed. And if you're drawn back, that works well as well. No one comes up to you and is like, hey, why aren't you being more active in the game? It's really up to you. So a lot of parents come to us. It's actually been in, they have like a national association for people with ADHD, had a couple of articles in their member magazine about skateboarding and how well it works as a sport for people with ADHD. And also we try to connect them with a professional network, because we're working with the whole skate industry, and if we see some guys that maybe don't have any other connections, we try to bring them to where they work at. I don't know, the skate shop, the stuff like that, event happening. So there are a lot of social benefits that are informal and not really visibly expressed. It's things that's always been around in skateboard culture, but you don't really think about it. You just take it for granted. But it's good to point it out. And if you work with a city, and if you want to show the benefits of having a skate park and having skateboard activities, it's really good to point out those social benefits. At Fryshuset, we worked with a bunch of projects, like I told you about, pop-up skate parks out in rough areas. We also have a bunch of individual cases where some social worker comes and is like, this guy is hopeless. He's been criminal, he's doing drugs, but we know he likes skateboarding. It's just that he's hanging out with all his criminal friends, and then he doesn't get to skate that much. And then we try to make a program for them. They can come and have like practice work at the skate park, and we try to connect them more with the local skaters, so they get out of their criminal behavior and their criminal their criminal network, and hang out more with the skateboarders. This is more about the coaches. It's just that we recruit them always from the member base. We always pick up. It's not like we put out an ad and, do you want to be a leader with paid salary? We know, we see in the skate park what people that are already informal leaders, and we know, okay, they've got good skills for doing this. Let's give them a leadership education. We're in YMCA club, so through YMCAs in Sweden, we have a lot of good education opportunities, courses and stuff. So we pick out the guys we see are having a good attitude and have good leadership skills, and they get education from us and are put on the salary. Like we said, they focus on attitude and respect more than on difficult tricks. We've seen in skateboarding that coaching, the technical side, is mostly in the for beginners, like learning to skate. Okay, now you can do an ollie and a kickflip. Fly away, my son. You can. It's not that much. And we work with our employees, the guys working in the reception and stuff, and try to have them very observant to see if someone is not doing good. So. And then we have within Fryshuset a lot of different instances with psychologists and, yeah, you know, the social bit of it, so we can direct them in that point. Oh, you have problem with drugs, you should talk to these persons, and we can get into programs in other areas of Fryshuset. And it's focused on the fun and the passion, mixing all sorts of people, and everyone is welcome. We have an ambassadors program. If we see someone snaking in and trying not to pay, we know that usually they can't afford it, because it's we try to keep the prices as low as possible and still manage the 200,000 euro rent that we have every year. But when we see some kids that can't afford, we have an ambassador program. And instead of just giving them a free ride card, we want them to feel like they're doing something for it. So we have meetings where we sit down and talk about having a good attitude, being an ambassador for Fryshuset and for the skate park in a nice way. So they feel a little bit of pride of getting the free ride card instead of just a gift like, oh, you're poor, here you go. We're trying to make it like that. And all this, we believe, creates a welcoming and relaxed atmosphere. Quick. In 2015, 163,000 refugees came to Sweden from the Syrian war. Most of those were young men, young boys, and they went into different asylum-seeking facilities. It was really miserable. They really had nothing to do. Some of them got allowed to stay, some got sent back, but the ones that are staying really needed a way to get into Swedish society. And that's when one of our members came to us, and he's got a nice watch company, he sells watches and stuff, and he has been talking a long time about he wants to do some social work, and he had an idea that we start a project where refugees learn to skate and get to hang in the skate park and get to know Swedish kids and get another identity. Because back then it was like, oh, you're a refugee, it's such a pity for you and you must feel so weak and sorry. And it was all about pity and nothing about strengthening you. So we decided to start having meetings where we invited refugees from the asylum living things they had, and try to connect with as many refugees as possible. And we had every other Friday this Skate Nation session where they could borrow boards for free, and a lot of our members came and were volunteers helping out, teaching them how to skate. And it's been working really well. We got a lot of donations. All the guys in town donated their old wheels and boards and stuff so we could put together skateboards and give to them. And a lot of sponsors came in as well. We do some charity events where we involve the guys, the refugees in the program, so they're a part of it. At the parties, standing there, so they did the skateboards that are in collaboration with two art designers in Stockholm. They had ideas of the clash between coming from Afghanistan to Stockholm. So we had an event where we were selling those boards that went really well. And it's such a good thing for the refugees. They've been sitting, they're very traumatized to just go out and move and get some physical action. And boy, they're not afraid. They're trying to drop in on they're like, why should I be afraid of dropping in here? I walked over a minefield. We also involve them in the sports club. The guys that really fall for skating and really like it, we now teach them to become leaders at the meetings. So when new refugees come in, there are the guys that have been here in 3 years maybe, and they've been in the program for 2 years, starting to learn Swedish, and they know how to skate now. They are the one teaching the new refugees how to skate. So they evolve in this program. It's not just a pastime. They become leaders, coaches, and we even have done a couple of leadership educations on really easy Swedish for them. Skateboarding is really good for integration because they get friends now at the skate park, and they learn the language so much quicker when they hang out. And most of all, they get an identity as a skateboarder instead of a refugee. So now they get some pride. Yeah, I'm a skateboarder. I'm not just a poor Afghan kid that is hanging out here and have nothing to do. I've got friends all over the world now because I'm a skateboarder. I'm not going to go into much on the Skateboard Federation. I talked a little bit about it before that. We started it to protect the skateboard culture, and we managed really well. And now that we're in the Swedish Sports Confederation, they're telling us, like, you own this sport. No one else can tell you what to do. So, and it's just skateboard clubs, so they're the one calling the shots, the skateboard clubs, which feels really good. It's really growing, and all the old traditional sports are looking to skateboarding now because they lose all their kids around 11 or 12 years old. They stop with traditional sports because that's all about elite. In that young age, it's all about picking the best team and pushing all the bad players away. But in skateboarding, it's not like that. We have the most members from 12 to 17, which is the area where the traditional sports have the hardest time to attract. So they're listening a lot to us. We have a good cooperation with the Swedish Sports Confederation. And yeah, I think I went a little bit over time, but that's about it. You got some web addresses there if you want to check out some of the work we do. And thanks for having me.
So first question, how to spell Fryshuset? Is it right?
Yeah, Fryshuset.
Fryshuset. Okay, thanks.
We were speaking with my colleagues, and our attention was how you make your coaches founding in your community. This is a really key point that we really love. Thanks for sharing this information. And we want to, just personally, but I think everybody wants to show appreciation for this kind of job because you give an identity, also the, let me call it excuse, giving jobs to make it like, exchange, to make these guys get in with a role in the community is a huge congratulations. Really, each section of your presentation was great, really good.
Thank you very much.
Great, yeah. So the first question from us, if anybody have questions, yes, so raise your hand. But in Sweden, similar like in Denmark and other European countries, there are almost everything is okay, but is still there are streets. Still, I wonder. If in Sweden there are still regarded areas, ghettos.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of social problems in Stockholm.
Yep.
It's a lot of shootings right now. It's
really?
Yeah. The gun violence is crazy. It's in areas outside of Stockholm. We have almost parallel societies where they don't speak Swedish and where there's like a mafia running the place. So there are huge problems with social unrest.
Because of what? So who causes these problems?
Everyone thinks Sweden has been very socialist democratic, but the last 10 years the salary gap has been increased a lot, and the poor people now are having a real hard time, and there's been a lot of immigration and the whole refugee thing that even caused like a lower class that has like parallel societies in some areas. Also taxes. Everyone thinks that we have the biggest taxes and stuff, but there are a lot of taxes that have been put away, like fortune tax and this. I don't know the English word for it, but the Swedish society today is very, very split into rich and poor.
Wow. So this is the main problem why there was regarded areas, right? Because from our point of view, Sweden or Norway or Iceland looks like almost perfect countries to live in because of that what we see. But you are telling us completely different things.
In Swedish media, it's a completely different picture also. It's doomsday news every day. A place like Malmö, it's gotten really violent and they have huge problems. And also the integration has not gone well. So there's a lot of things to tackle, and we try to tackle it with all the different projects.
So you can't involve this youth by the government programs. You need to something that can interest them, right?
Exactly. The government programs often come in when just as a problem solver, like, oh, we have this problem, now let's sit down and talk, and it's all about the problem. And what we're trying to do is find the passion and the positive things and replace with a negative energy, and instead provide with a lot of positive alternatives. That's our main focus.
So I hope that a lot of Swedish and other world companies and associations will inspire by you. Yeah. So and I hope there will be Stockholm and Sweden can be a better place to live. Another question and two questions. Okay.
Okay. How many of you are working full-time in this project, in this skate park and in all the Skate Nation project? And how is the fund split from government side to like fundraising or sponsorship-wise to get this skate park running and everything?
We are 4 people that work with the administration and the building of the ramps, all that. And then we got some people working on hours in the reception, and then we got the coaches that are also on hours. So 5 full-times, maybe, something like that, 6 full-times. And the split is we get about a fifth of the income is from funding from the city. I gotta about 2/5 is money we make from. We have a skate shop. We from membership fees, from entry fees and stuff, and then the other is sponsor money. So we work with a lot of different, from small skateboard companies to big soda companies. We try to spread the income sources really wide, because if one is cut, we don't want it to affect the project too much. So we used to be way more dependent on government and city money. Then we started working a lot more with our own income, with selling stuff, and then also with sponsors.
Okay, so thank you. And Thomas.
Yeah, one more. First off, Magnus, thank you. This was a really, really detailed presentation. I enjoyed it very much as I caught of it. And I'd like to leap back on the whole disregarded area thing. What's your observation? Are there any, like, in these disregarded areas, are there any, like, notable maybe skate plazas or skate spots that could be street spots that can be skated? And how do you see, like, does like a regular Swedish kid, you know, from a good family, from a good, well, maybe not wealthy, you know, but a decent income family, go to this disregarded area and skate the street spots over there? Or is he even kind of, you know, scared to do that? Or maybe there's an interaction between, you know, skaters and the kids growing up in these so-called ghettos? And have you seen any, you know, potential in these areas developing by skateboarding?
Really good question, because I thought about it the other day, that some of the really poor, disregarded areas, the street skaters don't go there because they get robbed, and even the guys from that area don't go there skateboarding. So we've been to a couple of those places, putting up like a ramp and doing a thing out of that. And all the kids there, even the gangster kids, come and try and think it's really funny. Because then it's a totally different thing if a bunch of unknown Swedish white guys come into their turf. So we hope to open up by being out there and teaching what skateboarding is to those kids. We hope that may open up, so there will be a spot skating culture out there too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Once again, Magnus, make some noise for him. Thank you.